Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim, and we talk about horror movies on this show. And a little sneaky behind the scenes knowledge for you. This is the first one we're recording of 2019. It's not the first episode. You've had like 3 or 4 episodes by the time you get this one. But this is the first one we're recording in 2019, which is pretty cool. And we're going to dive into a movie. We're going to dive into Malevolent, which is a horror movie from 2018. You'll notice that a lot of the movies we do in the next month or so are going to be 2018 movies that we're catching up on before we do our top and worst 10s of the year. That is the plan. So this one is kind of notable only in the sense that I watched this live with some of our viewers
cool.
on the live stream this past week. Just a few of them, because it was like very late at night. This was kind of like the end of the night. Okay, there's a few people left. What do you want to do? Oh, let's watch a movie. It's a Netflix movie. Let's watch it together.
So when you're streaming that, are they like? Do you have the movie on the screen, or is it just kind of like?
We'd get sued up the ass for that, Tim.
That's why I was curious. I didn't know how it worked. Okay.
No, it's just like the commentaries on Patreon. You just 3, 2, 1, press play. Everyone's watching together, so they have to have the movie themselves for it to work.
Okay.
I have picked a movie though for the next stream. Now, admittedly, by the time you see this episode, this stream will have passed. But my idea is that all the late night streams will have a movie watching thing at the end, and I've picked one that's I found on YouTube, so everyone can join in should they wish to.
Oh, okay. Sounds like it's a good mark of quality right there. If a full movie is on YouTube.
Oh, well, I mean, it'll already happened. I'll just say this because you'll see this after this anyway, so I'm not spoiling anything. The movie is Hard Ticket to Hawaii, which I have heard many a great thing about.
You've never seen it before?
I've never seen it before, Tim.
Wow, you were in a treat. I think I watched that last year when I was on like a vacation. Because I think it was a similar thing. I was on like vacation. I just had my laptop, and I was like late night. I was like, I think a bad movie podcast. I just mentioned it, and I looked it up on YouTube. It is, it's pretty glorious. You're in for a treat.
I'm looking forward to it. So. So that's the thing I actually just started at the start of the year. If you didn't know about that, is that every week now I do a stream on YouTube. I do an early one on Monday, and then Tuesday or Wednesday will be a late one for some other time zones. So you can look up that. There's always like a few days before they happen. There's like a placeholder video on the YouTube, and you can click a reminder and whatnot. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Malevolent, which is a film starring was it Florence Pugh? Is her name? Yes, Florence Pugh. An actress who I have basically become aware of very quickly in the last couple of months because she was in a TV show called The Little Drummer Girl, and she's in a movie about the wrestler Paige, which just got a trailer like last month. So all of a sudden this actress is popping up all over the place. So when I started this movie and it was her, I was like, oh, her. This is obviously what she did before she started becoming successful. Very good.
I don't know anything about the Little Drummer Boy, but I'm assuming it's like some sci-fi interpretation of the classic Christmas song.
It is, in fact, a adaptation of a novel by the same dude who did Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. It is a spy thriller, and it is directed by Park Chan-wook.
Oh, okay. Well, that's that's a little more interesting, but I don't like spy stuff.
Yeah, I don't like spy stuff either. But I'll put it this way, Tim. The Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy I thought was boring as hell, and that was directed by the guy who did Let the Right One In. So basically, this guy's books are like good director kryptonite, and I hated the pilot for that show as well, for the record. It was a miniseries.
Oh, okay.
I did not like it. But so that's what I've been seeing Florence Pugh from. The director of this is Olaf Fleur Johansson. I love that name. There's a lot going on in that name.
There's a nice flourish to it.
Yeah, so we'll start spoiler free as we always do. We'll give you a warning in the middle before we get into spoilers. Malevolent is.
I think in the new year, I think we should do the spoilers first and then go into spoiler free territory and mix things up a little bit. No,
this seems counterproductive, Tim.
Yeah, that's the point. We're doing it backwards.
Yes. No, I'll veto that as the chairman of Screams.
Well, I'm for it, so I guess we're at a standstill for now. But
no, chairman, vice chairman, I outrule you.
Oh. Well, just wait till next board meeting.
What, with all two of us?
Yeah.
This is why we had a third person on the podcast, Tim, so that you have someone that you can shit on.
I'll bring in some ringers.
Someone at the bottom of the food chain.
Yeah. Just another box. It's just me with a mustache. Like.
Yeah, it's just the same video feed again, but I've just drawn a mustache over it. You just need to stay still the whole time. Yes. But yeah, so what is Malevolent? Malevolent is a film about a paranormal team of investigators who aren't really paranormal investigators. They're con artists. They go into people's houses who think they've got ghosts, and they break out equipment like you see in Insidious or The Conjuring or whatever, and they pretend to do the investigation for money, and then just sort of give them some closure and say, oh, they've gone. But it's full on con job. The main character, Angela, her mother believed in all this stuff. She doesn't, but her scummy older brother is like set up this scheme. They've moved back to Scotland, which is where our parents were from, or where the mother was from, and obviously
my hometown of Glasgow is always nice to see.
Glasgow
in a movie.
It's Glasgow, Timmy. You know that annoys me. Glasgow. It even annoys me when I hear Americans say Moscow. It's Moscow. Moscow. Come on now. Anyway, so obviously the plot of the movie is that they go to a house where, oh, I bet this is actually a real haunting. Is this is the one that convinces them to believe, but they're going to be scared shitless, and it'll be too late to like do anything about it because they were cynical, and here we are. And that's the basic setup of the movie. Obviously, we're going to keep this spoiler free for now, but there are twists and turns throughout, and we will get to those in spoilers. But I'll ask the question for the first time in 2019. Kind of. You've seen episodes before this, but the first time I'm asking it physically in 2019. Tim, did you enjoy Malevolent?
No, not at all. I didn't. We've talked about this kind of stuff before, but this is like there's nothing offensively bad about it. Like, the acting's good, it's directed well, but everything is just so generic, so bland. This is like definition of middle of the road. Like, there's nothing unique about this concept. Even when you're describing it, I kind of had like a revelation when I was watching it, where I'm just like, I am so sick of paranormal investigators. Like, do something more interesting for your main characters. I feel like it's been done to death, where it's like, oh, the investigator, especially the one that's not even real, but then, oh wait, guess what, they go into a house that actually has actual ghosts in it.
I feel like you should have a robe on right now, because you're telling us about a revelation you had. You should be in like a really hip modern church with a robe on and have a mic in your hand and talking about revelations.
Like, mark my words, my followers, no more paranormal investigators. That's like such an easy like go to. I feel like for like horror movies now, it's like, no, there's much more interesting stuff you can do with your characters. And I don't know, I just thought it was so bland. I never the characters do not stand out at all. There's nothing like really, again, like, nothing's done like bad, but it's just there's nothing interesting about it. There's no flair. There's nothing that kept me interested or perked me up or went like, oh, hey, this is interesting, or oh, hey, this is a nice plot twist, or oh, hey, that was a good scare. Like, there's really nothing to this movie.
I feel so sorry for your I feel so sorry for your wife, because I just imagine you watching movies that you do enjoy with her, and just every so often going, oh hey, that's a good plot twist, oh hey, that was a nice sparkle, oh hey, that character's good.
I'm actually one of the best people to watch movies with. Most people would agree, because I'm very respectful.
You just said this movie didn't make you go oh hey and then something multiple times, which implies that
in my head, I'm not an idiot saying it out loud. Although maybe if I'm at home, maybe I might be a little more vocal. But I'm very good in movie theaters. I never say anything.
Never say anything. Yeah. You do make a mess though.
What? It's one time.
Dear. I mean, that could have meant anything, but I just want people to know at home that I purely meant that it was a masturbating related mess. That's exactly what I meant.
Oh dear Lord! Come on now.
Hey, look. Okay, so that's what you thought. I went through a roller coaster of emotions during this movie.
Do you like roller coasters?
Not really actually. But, I mean, that's irrelevant to the point I'm trying to make here.
I mean, no, I'm the same way because I can't do really big intense ones. Like I like some, but if they're too crazy, I'm like no.
Yeah. I don't like loop to loops and things like that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
good. I'm
not
good.
crazy about that. Yeah.
So yeah, the roller coaster. But the roller coaster is, imagine a roller coaster with a really really small peaks though, right? So
Yeah,
it's just
okay.
like, just right, and yeah, no, you're kind of right. You say it's middle of the road. I agree. It's very mediocre. It doesn't do anything offensively bad. Again, like you say, because one of the people in chat who'd watched this, Renegade, she'd seen it and hated it, and I
Her
was
name's Renegade.
well, not a real name.
All right, well, it's a cool name. I was gonna give her props. Jeez,
Her YouTube name is Renegade Hero for the record.
that's a cool name.
Yes, it is a cool name. Yeah, that's
Trying
fine.
to compliment our listeners or whatever.
Well, Tim, sometimes you ask really stupid questions, and I thought you were asking if her real name was Renegade. Yes, I'm Renegade Smith.
I think if that was someone's name, I think I would instantly just assume her parents were celebrities. Like, like you have to, like, the crazier your name is, the more likely that, all right, your parents are probably famous.
Mm-hmm. I'll get to my point eventually. Hold on. Where was it?
You're on a roller coaster or
Oh
something.
yes, it's roller coaster. Yes. No, like that was very mediocre, very middle of the road. Doesn't do anything offensive, but I was waiting because someone was telling me it was terrible. I was waiting for it to get really terrible, and it never really did. It was just never that interesting.
Yeah.
However, I did start laughing because when eventually in the third act, when it reveals a few things, I started laughing because it reminded me a lot of a certain film.
I think, I mean, if you're talking about the ending, I did also feel that I was like, oh, this is the exact, like, same ending as this other movie.
Is it a film you like a lot?
It's one I definitely liked. I don't know if I'd say a lot, but I definitely thought it was a good movie.
I don't know if you're thinking of the same movie, Timmy.
All right, we'll see.
Because there was a point in this movie where I went and I said, this is basically a companion piece to The Boy. And
oh, okay. Oh no, I'm thinking of a different part then. But okay, I see what you mean.
You're thinking later on. Yeah, I know what you're thinking of.
Okay.
But there was a moment where, because I got very confused for a second when something happened, and I was, because let's be honest here, when I was watching this with the chat, I was cracking jokes and kind of I was doing a bit of an amateur riff tracks as I was going, because of course I was. So occasionally I'd miss like a line of dialogue and I'd be like, hey chat, what did they say? What happened there? Something important just happened, tell me.
I'm glad to see in the new year how serious you're taking these reviews.
Well, this is the thing. I never intended it on being a Screams movie when I was watching it. It was only after I did that I went, you know what? I kind of want to talk to Tim about this because it reminded me of The Boy.
Jesus, all right. Yeah, this movie wishes it had the ounce of talent The Boy had.
I don't know. This might be slightly better than The Boy.
You're delusional. If this was like 20 years ago, you would have been locked in a loony bin for saying something like that.
Oh yes, because they'd be saying, how's he talking about movies that don't exist for another 20 years? That'd be the crazy part.
Any way I can get you locked up, it's good for me. I wonder, like, the in prison they get like, they get like a phone call a day or a week or whatever. They have like, they can make these phone calls. I wonder if they can do like Skype stuff if they set that up yet.
I probably, I imagine so. I imagine you get Skype calls in prison. Maybe not every prison, but I imagine a lot of them will now.
Yeah, well, it's good to know that the show can continue if it ever comes to
that. Joe, you could tell me you haven't spoken to each other in about 3 or 4 weeks, Tim, because we're being especially playful here. Very little movie talk has happened in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah. See, you ruined it by saying that. Now you made it all weird. We're like, you're being so playful.
What word would you have liked? distracted, giddy.
Well, if we're doing, we're recording a couple of movies today. I think we wouldn't be as distracted with some of these other ones because I feel like this movie again, like I don't know if there's that like
it's the
much
boring
to talk
one.
about.
Yes, this is the boring one. Admittedly, it is.
Yeah.
The what Joe is funny actually. I'll kind of tell you what's wrong with this movie by using one scene to kind of like sort of show the roller coaster I was going through, right?
Yeah.
So there's a scene when they get to the house, the main house that the movie's going to be set in, and Angela's upstairs and she's looking around and there's a mannequin.
Wasn't Angela the the girl from Sleepaway Camp too?
The main character in Sleepaway Camp was called that. It's not that uncommon a name, Tim, to be fair.
I don't know. It's just, she's much more notable, Angela.
I feel that's like watching any movie with a Jason in it and going, Jason was the killer in Friday the 13th, 2 through 12.
That's probably on the IMDb trivia for this movie. Yeah, if you ever look at like the trivia, like some of it is like that stupid. Like sometimes people literally will be like, this movie is actually a sequel to a previous movie or something. Like it's not trivia.
Which is fine when it's maybe not in the title and it's not obvious, but for most movies, I mean,
yeah,
like The Fugitive had that. Was it U.S. Marshals was a sequel to The Fugitive?
Okay, yeah, something like that. All right.
Yeah, I think for that one it's kind of trivia because it's like, it's not obvious.
If you're doing it for like Iron Man 2, you probably like, save the gigabyte on the internet or whatever. You don't need that.
Alternatively, though, I would say that it's actually valid trivia to tell someone that Fast and Furious is actually the 4th film in the Fast and the Furious franchise. It is not a remake of the Fast and the Furious, for which you may be mistaken.
Yeah, the whole timeline is a little tough.
Yes. So there's a scene where she's looking around and there's a mannequin, and the mannequin's head moves, right? And I actually really liked this moment because it moved like silently in the background, and I was like, okay, it didn't do this thing, it didn't do the loud noise, and I was kind of like, yeah, that was a good little moment. Maybe this movie's going to be good. And then 2 seconds later, when she's looking at it again, it does the loud noise scream and jumps at her, and I went, "Well, you had the perfect scale like 10 seconds ago, and now you just ruined it. What are you doing, movie? Stop it."
Yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff like that. It's just very disappointing, and I was I don't know if I was like super excited going in, but I don't know. I felt like. Cause I think I'd seen the trailer for this before and kind of thought like, oh, looks interesting. I had maybe not high hopes, but I figured like, oh, this might be like decent or surprisingly okay. And yeah, it was just like nothing about it stood out. And yeah, like stuff like that is a really good example where it's like maybe you could possibly see some potential, but then they kind of just dash your hopes by going the really obvious route.
Yeah, character's very bland. I mean, Angela is kind of okay, but I felt there was several scenes, especially in the second half of the movie, where, and I don't think it's her fault as an actress, I think the director told her to underplay things far too often, where there was points where chaos was happening, people around her were dying, and there's things, really extreme things happening, and she felt very laxed about telling someone, let's go, we should probably go away now. It's like, no, scream, run, be hysterical or something.
Yeah, and you know what, I never really felt like I never really felt afraid for the characters. Like in a haunted house movie, you want them to kind of you want them to feel like they're in danger, that they can't escape the house at any time, and I never really felt like that. Like the house never felt that imposing to me. Like I'm sure they wanted it to, but like I don't know, maybe just again because of the kind of the blandness and the dullness of it, that it never really stood out to me. But there really was like never any point where I was just kind of like, oh man, like they're really stuck now, or like oh they can never get out. Like I kind of was just like, this really isn't that scary. I don't know. Yeah,
and then the other main character is her brother Jackson, who's a bit of a dickhead. He's in trouble with the mob, which made me laugh. Like that
stupid side plot.
Yeah, well, it's basically just there to justify why he's determined not to give up the job, because he needs the money to pay off the mob.
Yeah,
that's basically it.
It was so unnecessary though, because like you can just have them like, you know, they could just need the money. Like, you don't have to have all this like loan shark stuff. Like, why, why even have this? It's weird.
Yeah, very odd. But hey, so you have that. You have like the other guy who's helping them, Elliot, who has a bit of a crush on Angela, which is basically a non-plot point. It's just a little bit to kind of make you care about one of them. That you know, there's a connection between two of them outside of the brother sister thing, I suppose. But they constantly seem to be fighting with each other, so it doesn't really feel like they actually give a shit about each other in the same way. So it's just kind of there to give you a bit of someone to care about, I guess. That's a bit more innocent, I suppose. Other than that, I mean, they're in this woman's house, Mrs. Green, and she's like she's seeing ghosts of little girls, and she thinks it's the little girls, because this is the thing, her son murdered some girls like years ago, and everyone knows that's not a twist. That's like, you know, she explains that, like, you know, right away, but she thinks these ghosts are like haunting the house now because of that, and yeah, so that's why they're there to stop these little girls from haunting the place.
They were her. Were they like her nieces or something, or
no? They were just like girls from
just random
from town, yeah, just local girls.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so that was there. So just to tell you how much I was into this movie, I basically started making pull my finger jokes like about 25 minutes in, and it didn't let up till the end of the movie.
Okay.
Elliot was a serial finger, well, not a finger puller. He was a serial asker of of finger pulls.
Okay.
And it was kind of sexual. It was a whole thing. It was weird.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into it. It's not my finest moment. But the reason why I'm telling you this is to point out how uninteresting the movie was. Is that I was kind of just trying to add humor to some of the characters, because there was nothing there. There was, you know, it was very, very bland in that sense. Which is, it's kind of the main thing I'd say about it. It's just kind of bland.
Yeah. No, definitely. And it's I mean, you know, kind of, we say this a lot of the times, but sometimes that's kind of the worst thing you can be, because at least if it's outrageously bad, then at least it's holding your attention, at least you're laughing, at least you're kind of going like, wow, how the hell, you know, did they think they could get away with this? Or
yeah. And if not laughing, then maybe angry, because it's just that bad that you're annoyed that you're wasting your time on it. When it's this middle of the road, it just kind of feels like, I could stop watching, but no. Or, you know, like, you can't get impassioned about it, but you're not like that positive about it either. You're just kind of like, it was you know, shrug. It's a shrug of a movie.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Which is frustrating, but I will give the spoiler warning so we can talk about the plot revelations. So full spoilers for Malevolent. What was the name of that Angelina Jolie movie? Where she was the, you know, from Snow White, the evil.
Oh, Malevolent.
That was Malevolence. Yeah, I was in my head. I was like, this is really similar to the Angelina Jolie movie. I was trying to remember what the title was. But yeah, so full spoilers for Malevolent. So the revelation in this is that the Mrs. Green actually still supports her son, and her son's still alive, and her son's actually the dangerous one who like traps them and like kills one of them, and he's still alive, which is the part that made me think of the boy, because it's like, oh no, there's a real person here who's like actually doing stuff. Of course, unlike the boy, this actually does still have some real ghosts in it, but it turns out the little girl ghosts are actually good ghosts who are trying to protect and help the main characters, and ultimately do, because one of the things is that Mrs. Green would sew their mouths shut because so they couldn't scream. So there's this big moment at the end where all the ghosts scream and finally break the silence, and that saves a couple of them.
See, that's what I thought you were referring to before, because it reminded me of Ouija, or the what was the second one? Ouija, Origin of Evil.
Origin of Evil, yeah.
Yeah, because with the whole sewing the mouth shut, and then at the end, like, you know, breaking it and screaming and driving the people back.
I have to admit, I forgot about that part of that movie. I remember the first 2/3 quite well, because that was the good parts of the movie.
Yeah.
Last third, not so much.
But yeah, I mean, like, even like that stuff, like, you know, didn't really feel original to me, because I was thinking like, oh yeah, this is just like that movie. It
was okay. The part I was talking about where it felt like Angela wasn't really emoting very much was after, so the son like steps out in front of the car, and it makes the car crash, and
oh right, yeah.
Like he actually beats because you think Elliot's dead because Elliot gets really badly beaten here, and then she's like trying to like wake up her brother. So, oh, we have to go. But she's very, very like laid back about it, even though there's this crazy guy like trying to kill them, and they've just crashed the car, and Elliot looks like he's dead. He's not dead. Elliot comes and tries to save the day, and actually survives. Like him and Angela, the two that survive, because he's still in the hospital at the end. And Angela's like, oh, I guess we're destined to be together now because we survived this trauma. If she can find it in her to emote and smile at some point. Because I was actually thinking at the start of the movie, after the first little sort of example of what they do, where we see them in this house and like talking to these people about the ghosts, and it's revealed that it's actually a scam and so on. There's a quick scene at them at a nightclub where they're like dancing and letting off steam, and just on one shot she was smiling in a scene, and I thought, oh, she smiles, because it was so notable because I hadn't seen her like do anything other than just be kind of like, I'm grumpy, I'm always grumpy.
So what you're saying is you're the kind of guy that likes to tell women they should smile more?
That is not what I meant. Shut your face. That is not what I'm getting at. I'm saying the movie character was not emoting enough. It doesn't have to necessarily be smiling. It was just this, it was like the same stoic face, like
it's
the whole time.
It makes for a very boring character because she doesn't have any emotions. She's just constantly at the same level. She's never really up and never really down. So yeah, it is like very dull kind of performance.
Yeah. That's basically it. The whole twist with like, oh, the mum's evil, and I think we were joking in the live stream that, like, is this going to be like a reverse cycle where she's dressing up as the son and killing people?
That would have been more interesting.
It may have been more interesting, yeah.
See, nothing about this like was surprising. Like, first of all, the idea that like they're paranormal investigators, but they're fake, and they're gonna go to a house that's gonna turn out to be real. Like, that was not surprising. The fact that Mrs. Green turns out to be a bad guy was not surprising. Like, you can see these, like I didn't see the her, was it her son or her brother? I don't even remember.
Her son.
But was her son like that? Okay, I didn't really see coming, but like everything else you could have said.
But I think, to be fair to him, the reason why I didn't see that coming is I don't actually think it's well seeded. Like, is there actually that much of a hint before that point in the movie that there's someone actually doing something dangerous to any of them?
True,
Because up until that point, it's seeing the creepy girl ghosts who are actually, because basically the ghosts are trying to lead them to this message to show them what's been happening in this house, to warn them so they can escape. That's what the ghosts are trying to do. Up until that point, is there actually that much threat in the house that would tell you there's someone trying to kill them or there's something? I don't think there's much.
No, not really.
Yeah. So
I get the only thing you have is the they have the one section or whatever that they're not supposed to go to, and then when they do go there, the guy like falls to the floor. Like, that's like kind of like the only maybe threat the house ever gives. But again, it just makes you think like, oh, this house is kind of crappy.
Yeah, that is what it is. Because at one point it gets really dramatic because Jackson's like walking through a room and he stops and he starts looking at something and he's slowly walking towards the camera with a shock face, and I started guessing what he was looking at because I was like, oh man, he's reacting really heavily to this. And then when it finally cut to the reverse shot, it was just all their camera equipment had been smashed, and I was like, all right, okay. I mean, yeah, it's upsetting, but it's not.
I mean, as a techie, I'm sure you could feel for him.
Yeah, but it's not like, oh, I've found a body hanging upside down with its the entrails like hanging from it. Like, it's not quite that. True. So that's what it is. It's just a dull movie. That's ultimately what it comes back to. Is that it's a dull, middle of the road movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I guess that is it. I mean, I don't know if I was expecting a long discussion out of this one. And what's impressive though is we wasted like 15 minutes talking about absolute shite, and we're still coming in at a relatively short runtime given that what we normally hit. So
yeah, I mean, there like I'm trying to think, but like there isn't really any big like outstanding moments that it's like let's dissect this scene. Like, again, they're very I don't know, kind of like nonchalant. Like, even the stuff that should be like big major things, like the car crashing or whatever. Like even that is like kind of dull. Just I don't know, I guess just the way it's shot, or by that time you just don't really care too much about the characters and story. That
It feels like a movie Netflix got cheap.
without a doubt, yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the other cliches we haven't mentioned yet is the dead mother at one point, like shows up, like
yeah.
like Angela sees her, and it's like the spirit of the good mother helping.
Oh yeah, because like her mother was like an actual psychic or something, or of some renown, and then that's another thing, is like, like trying to live up to her legacy.
Well, yeah, so's Angela, because she keeps getting these visions, and she gets these nosebleeds whenever she has a vision. So she's been getting visions, and she's just kind of denying them and not really admitting to herself what they are.
Yeah, I did think that was interesting, because I've never seen that in a movie where someone gets a nosebleed after something intense happens. So I thought, that's a cool visual. That's never been done before.
Do you know, Tim, when you started that sentence, I was wondering where you were going with it. What do you think is a good idea? And then you just...
That's another proclamation I'm making in 2019. No more nosebleeds. Like, all right, we get it. Like, I think there should be other ways you can show someone is like doing something intense than just their nose bleeding.
Yes, I will give a pass to Stranger Things season 3 because they've already established the character does it.
Yeah,
but
it's fine.
Other than that, no more nosebleeds, no more paranormal investigators.
Yeah.
Also,
Imagine,
no more ghosts doing this. With a wide open mouth.
1,000%. Yeah, I'm definitely okay with no more of that.
Yeah, none of that. But
and if you do it, there should be, all right. You can do it, but if you do it, it has to be practical. Like no CGI.
That's fair. All right. Well, I guess we're rating the movie. Timmy, what are you giving it?
Yeah, I don't know. This might sound like really low, but I think I'm gonna go with like a 3.5, because I just don't think like it is very middle of the road. So it seems like it makes sense to just give it like something straight down the middle. But again, I'm trying to think of like more stuff that I liked that would raise it, that would make me come back to it or something. I really can't think of anything. So again, I can't go too low, because it is like technically proficient, but there really isn't anything that should give it any more points or put it kind of over.
Yeah. I'm going to go a bit higher than that. I'm going to go with a 4.5. Like you say, it seems easy to go right down the middle. I'm going to go slightly under that though, because being this bland is kind of a it's kind of a problem.
Definitely, yeah.
So I'm going to go just under the middle and go with 4.5. It is completely forgettable. I will not remember anything that happened in this in a week's time, never mind a month or a year. So
what did Renegade give it?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm sure she'll tell us in the comments.
8.3. Sure.
What? But yeah, unfortunately not a good movie to start off the year with. But then we do review a lot of mediocre movies, so I guess it stands to reason.
It's our bread and butter.
Unfortunately, it is, Tim. It hurts me, but it is. So that is Malevolent. By all means, you can let us know what you think of Malevolent in the comments if you've seen it. And it's easy to see because it's a Netflix movie, so everyone can watch it.
I think I wrote a like 2 or 3 sentence review on Letterboxd.
Oh, you actually fill in the review section on Letterboxd.
I mean, I don't go too in depth. Usually like 2 or 3 sentences, but
I used to. I stopped in like 2016. So my last review in Letterboxd is from like mid 2016.
Yeah, I'll probably stop in February.
I talk about movies on these shows too much. I don't need to write down my thoughts on Letterboxd.
That's true. Yeah.
Just a quick rating and log it for the diary, and that's it. That's what I do. But you can get me on Letterboxd at Wibble89, same as my Twitter, which is at Wibble89. What's your Letterboxd, Tim?
It's I think it's just T Vargulish. Yeah. I probably should have double checked and see if maybe keep it same as like Twitter and everything. But if you ever tried Tim Margulish or T Margulish, it'll usually be one of those, whatever social media thing you're on.
Yeah, see, Tim has the privilege of having a last name that almost anyone else will try and use. So
yeah,
he gets to just use it whenever he wants on social media. Yeah, so guys on Twitter, you can obviously like and subscribe. That'll support us a lot as well. Going to patreon.com/MaleFuzzTV and supporting us financially over there. You can, of course, I mentioned the live streams every week, which is a new thing that I do. You can come and chat about horror movies or whatever else that we cover on the channel and all the various podcasts and whatnot. You can check out that. I will warn you that Tales from the Crypt, which me and Tim do, we're on the last season, it's going to have a bit of a spotty schedule for the last like 10 episodes. We seem to be kind of erratic in when we can get to record it, but we will finish. It'll just take a little bit longer than initially planned, because movies are more important is basically basically the thing. So
also, the last season hasn't been that good, so we're not in a rush.
The last 3 seasons haven't been that good. So squeezing those episodes in will happen. It'll definitely happen. You'll get one every couple of weeks at the very least. But
yeah, I do want to finish it though, because I do want to do like a top 10 list of the best and worst episodes. And then I think when we finish it too, we should also, once we finish the series, we should do the movie Demon Knight, and then maybe we'll even do more Bordello of Blood. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to the movies. No, I think a top 10 or whatever at the end has always been on the cards. No, I agree. Man, I think the bottom 10 would be actually harder. There's so many bad episodes.
Yeah.
But hey, so that has been Malevolent. So once again, let us know what you thought in the comments. Like and subscribe. Thank you very much for listening or watching. We always appreciate it. And if you are listening on the audio feed for Screams After Midnight, we have other audio feeds for other shows, like the regular movies that's usually me and Matt or me and Connor, the comics podcasts, all that stuff. But that is us. So thank you very much once again. We'll see you next time. Keep watching scary movies. Goodbye.